Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I am Raution Jaiswal, co founder of InsuredMine, a software platform with CRM, sales, and marketing automation designed and developed only for insurance industry. For those of you just joining us, welcome. A recorded session of this webinar will be available on InsuredMine website.
I want to welcome our two hosts with me here is Steve. Steve is the VP of Sales and Marketing from LightSpeed Voice, and he will be sharing a little bit more about the LightSpeed Voice in a bit. And then we have our client, both of Steve and I share a common client, Mohamad, and he is very graciously accepted to attend this webinar with us because several of you joining the call and everybody who would be listening to this afterwards is always, looking to hear the voice of their own. We from the technologists, sometimes we are salesy, sometimes we are geeky. But what really resonates is someone from your community, someone as an agent, what do they think? How do they work on some of these things and how it works for them? So I think it matters a lot to hear what agencies have to say about the product. So without going further ado, I'll let Steve talk about himself a little bit and what LightSpeed Voice does, and then we'll get started and with Mohammed introduction.
Sure. So Steve Mohr from LightSpeed Voice, joined the company April of last year. Prior to that, I was with Allstate in their technology organization, focusing around their agency-facing applications. So brought some of that, knowledge and experience over to LightSpeed and met the guys from LightSpeed through that actually integration with their solution. So been familiar with LightSpeed for a while, excited to be part of this, and excited to get to know folks like Raution as we continue to grow and learn about this great big space of independent agency life, which is a great space to be in. So we're happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, now let's talk about Mohammed. At least Mohammed, we have your picture going here, if not your live feed. But while we work to fix that, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Mohamad, and I've been with, I've been owning Starr Insurance for about going on almost years now. So been independent from day one and loving it, but kind of do more commercial, more than anything else. So that's my cup of tea. But mid-market, small commercial, and mid-market is where I focus on.
Before jumping into too much of the integration, we will, which is the core of it. But let's take a step back, as I do see several of you joining the call are new to InsuredMine, or at least kind of a new name to me. So I'll take a quick minute, talk about what InsuredMine does. So it sets up a good agenda about what InsuredMine does, and then probably I'll have Steve talk a little bit about what LightSpeed Voice does, and I love their slogan when they say it's more than voice. It's which talks a lot about how it extends beyond the boundaries of somebody thinking of a traditional phone company of, hey, this allows me to just talk. There's so much that happens today. So we will go into the details of that, and then also obviously we want to see and hear from Mohammed about how he is leveraging these two technology companies, which is on their cutting edge, and helping clients like Mohammed to accomplish more with less and be able to be on top of their game so they can continuously grow, because that's all we want is agents to grow. If they are winning, we all are winning. And that's the mantra we go with. So InsuredMine, what is InsuredMine? InsuredMine is basically an add-on to an agency management system, and it helps you accomplish three goals of your agency. One is convert, second is engage, and third is retain. So how are you converting a prospect or a stranger to a client? Second is, how are you engaging with your prospect and your client? Let's not make a mistake that we should not be thinking about engaging or nurturing our clients once we have won the business. It's a work in progress, continuous work in progress. And third is retention. How are we retaining our clients through upsell, cross-sell engagement, and adding that add-on services that is providing them the value that they are looking for from us. So conversion, engagement, and retention is the three core goals that we help agencies accomplish. So, and how we are doing that is what we call as SEAM, S-E-A-M, Sales, Engagement, Analytics, and Mobility. Sales is the core of it, which means it helps you build your sales funnel, sales pipeline, and that's where it is so important to have a partner like LightSpeed Voice, because you cannot think about closing a sales without at least having once spoken to the client. And if you have to do that, it is imperative that you have a system which is connected, which is integrated, not only from the point of easy to use, but also helping you get those analytics, those data, those record of the call that is helping you put it all together. So that's in the totality is how InsuredMine is working and is trying to expand its network to help agencies. So just to talk about a couple quick things here, what does the sales pipeline do? Sales pipeline, as you can see in a snapshot here, is helping agencies bring their sales leads into one consolidated place. So as an agent or as an agency principal, I have a better perspective of what's in my pipeline. We all know sales is not binary. It is not 0 or 1, yes or no. It takes time to close. And when you have 10, 20, 30, or 40 deals in your funnel, it literally becomes humanly impossible to be able to track all of them and be on top of it. So a tool like InsuredMine becomes your best friend because it helps you know where each of those deals are, what is the next best action that you need to take to be able to close that deal quicker and be more proactive. Because it does happen once in a while, we drop the ball. But if it is right in front of you, it is so easy that you can just know what's next. It's never gonna happen. You will have a better outcome. You will have a better closing ratio. You will have a better quoting ratio. So those numbers will look good to you. Talking about opportunities. So when sale is all about bringing business from outside, opportunity automation with InsuredMine is all about bringing opportunity from within your current book of business. And as you know, InsuredMine, the name itself has the word mine, which means we love digging in. And so this opportunity automation is all about digging into your current book of business so you can look into what more can I get out of my renewals, what more can I get out of my X dates, from cross sales, from the lost deals, building all those automations and be able to build those permutation of combinations of home auto but no life insurance, home auto life but no umbrella policy. So what are those combinations that you can put together for your cross-sell and upsell? And last but not the least, I want to quickly touch base on marketing automation because the conversation will never be over if you are not able to engage with those prospects and your clients in a smart, effective, and efficient way. And this is what marketing automation does. It helps you segment your clients, because if you're not segmenting and sending one communication to everybody, you are bound to get a way lower response, and the interaction with the customer becomes way more generic. But if you're able to segment, it becomes way more purposeful, it becomes way more focused discussion, and the outcome is equally good. So it's important to segment your clients and then build your smart workflows around it. So you know what can be done with those workflows, and it does not stop there. The key of that is to understand what you have done, how well you have done is through analytics. And once you're able to read those analytics to understand your business performance, you will be able to tweak it, because there is no one single solution playbook that tells you that, okay, do this, and you're good. It is always about doing something, learning from it, and then repeating it on what is working, double down on that, what is not working, get out of that. So that process of continuous improvement through your data is the key of closing that loop. Top 3 questions I want to answer before we move on to LightSpeed Voice and what it does. I'm sure every time I'm on a webinar, these are the questions that comes. I said, this time let me just put it out there. And so how much does it cost? InsuredMine is $35 per user per month, as simple as that. There is a setup fee, and that's also, it's very, very minimal, which is a 500 per 10 user basis. Our annual contract, no, there is no annual contract. It's month-to-month contracts, and it's a 30-day notice. We connect with management system, hell yes. We connect with several of them, and there are several of those which are in the pipeline. So we do consider that some of those which are done, it's one of the best in the class of how it is done. I'm more than happy to talk about AMS 360, QQ Catalyst, now Search, Technary, Varuna, and several of them. Obviously, next quarter or so, we are looking to wrap up another 2 to 3 management systems. So stay tuned for all these exciting stuff happening. I think this gives you a good picture of what InsuredMine does. And from here, I'll let Steve talk a little bit about what LightSpeed and why it is beyond just more than just talk, and go from there.
Appreciate that. No, great stuff, Raution, and we're excited to get into this. We kind of use the word integration, but I think one of the things that's pretty clear, and Raution and I have had multiple conversations about it, it's more of a partnership, right, than just a true integration. So technology is the integration aspect of it, but what can we do together to make your guys' life easier at the end of the day? So I'll touch a little bit on who LightSpeed is and what is it that we do here shortly. But at the end of the day, it's easy to just say, oh, LightSpeed's another VoIP company, right? There's some big ones, there's some small ones, but what makes a company like LightSpeed able to compete against some of these big companies that have billions of dollars behind them? And it really comes down to kind of our business model, as well as the way we manage our technology. So if you just want to jump ahead there, Raution, I think we've got a couple. I don't know if I can control the slides or if you got it. There we go. So we focus on the insurance business, right? It's probably 80-85% of our business is in the insurance industry. We do have some other verticals that we look at, but insurance is our bread and butter. And how we're able to gain the market share that we've been able to is really, number one, our customer service. I always kind of tell people, jump out on Google, do a quick search on our reviews, and I think we actually got a bad one today, but so don't look right now. No, we'll get 1 out of 100 are bad, and it's typically because they want to cancel, whatever the case is. But I'll talk about that. But we're still 5-star rated. One of the things I love about our Google reviews is that people actually name names, right? So we're based down in Southwest Florida. We manage, build, support, do everything out of that building for the product, and it's great to have that close interaction amongst all those teams. And you're going to know who you're talking to, who you're calling into. We don't have a multi-tiered customer service situation. Anybody that answers the phone is going to be able to solve the problem, unless if there's coding necessary, which is very rare. Obviously, we have folks to do that, but for them, you're not going to get bounced around at all. The other key to that is that we do own and manage all of our infrastructure, the data centers. Everything we've got is ours. We don't, we're not on Amazon Web Services. I mean, there's some good uses for that in the voice space. That's where, if you're with a company or have been with a company where the sound quality diminishes, that's because you're on this monster infrastructure that thousands of companies are utilizing. We're going to build out a custom solution on our platform for you. Switching back, so yeah, that's the main deal. And from a feature standpoint, in the VoIP space, in the communication space, there's going to obviously be a tremendous amount of overlap in functionality. A lot of it is how is it presented to you, how easy is it to use, and then how simple is it, right? And we definitely try and do the keep it simple deal. What you're looking at here is kind of the initial analytics that we offer that a typical like an agency manager or operations manager would want to see. But you can see in real time, how many calls have come in for that day, inbound and outbound, how long those calls have been taken, and are people waiting to talk to folks? And then we've got the leaderboards down at the bottom where you can kind of see who your top performers are for that day. Anytime you visualize that information, it's going to drive performance, right? People don't want to be at the bottom of those lists. And then along the right side, you can see in real time who's on the phone, who's not on the phone, how many calls they've made that particular day. You can see like where Jason's at, he's had a call coming in at that time. And then you can see when they're on the phone, what number they're on the phone with. So that's all real time analytics there. And if you kind of go across where it says CDR report, that's where you can really get drill down details per user, per week, per day, per month, really any parameters you want to see the call activity on. You can see that right off the bat. And if we switch on to the next slide, you'll see the switchboard functionality, which, depending on the person's role within the company, they may or may not get value in this, but, it's just a quick visual of the entire organization, right? So in our case, we've got, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 people on the phone. If there's 4, it would show the 4. If there's 50, you could see all 50. And you can break it up into different queues. So if you have a sales queue and a service queue, that can be broken up, different ring groups, all that customization that we provide as part of the onboarding process. Really straightforward. And I kind of say, like, if I'm an end user, if I'm a sales, dialer, customer service person, I may never have to look at any of these things, right? I'm just making and taking my calls, whether that's on a physical phone or a soft phone. A lot of the tools are really from the management perspective. The dashboards may be of interest, but we do provide both of those options. A lot of folks still like to have the physical phone. It provides the best connectivity, but for, if somebody's just dialing all day, you just want them on a headset with a soft phone, we offer those as well. So real flexible, real customizable solution. And when we talk about the integration itself, what does that exactly mean? And we'll actually, when Mohamad jumps on, we'll actually be able to show that. But the integration, the core functionality is going to be an inbound screen pop. So call comes in, that prospect or customer record will pop up in InsuredMine. And that goes back to the whole deal. If you're a CSR or a salesperson, you may never need this particular web interface because it would pop up within your main system. And then once the call is completed, it will insert a note into the activity record showing how long the call was, who took it, and then a link to the recorded call. So we do record all calls. It's an option, but it's included in our core solution. And you can have that link right in the record, and we'll show you what that looks like here shortly. Those are kind of the main ones that we're rolling out right off the bat. And as always, there's room for more discussion if you want to flip on to the next slide as far as what's coming from an integration standpoint, as well as LightSpeed as a company. These we're kind of like the gateway is what we've done now, right? We've opened up the pipes between the two solutions, and there's some other things we can do around some texting integration, some performance metrics. So I know InsuredMine's got a spectacular dashboard, for tracking stuff, but if you can start putting some call analytics on within it as well, it's obviously only going to get better. You can start running some KPIs and different stuff based on that. We will be rolling out a true video conferencing platform within 45 to 60 days. That'll have document sharing and document signing integration. So we're excited about that. It's something that's been a little bit of a gap, and obviously over the past couple months has become even more prevalent and needed. So we've responded accordingly there. And then the interface we actually just showed you is actually going to be a new one for us. We're still in the process of transitioning. We should be having that out in a few weeks, which we're really excited about. It's got drag and drop functionality. So in that right side bar, you can, like, if you're on a call, you can actually just drag the call down to somebody else and it would get transferred. Obviously really easy to use, and kind of minimizes the need for the actual phone in some cases as well. and then updated soft phone. So I'm kind of going on the premise that most of the folks on the call have been aware or possibly looked at our solution in the past. And, the soft phone has been something that we haven't really focused on just because it hasn't been as in demand, but that, has definitely changed, and we're looking to react to that pretty quickly as well. So, really getting back up to, the forefront of the technology world and taking the time that we're, kind of going through now to reinvest and really push forward with the product and with the partnerships that we're able to jump in on. So that kind of covers my deal. I'm certainly happy to pause for any questions, or for Raution, if you have any kind of comments to have.
No, that's great, Steve. This really sets up the stage really well. I think the audience gets a very good perspective of what InsuredMine does, and then what LightSpeed Voice does, and then how these two worlds are so different yet so complementary.
Totally.
How they come together, and obviously there is a need and opportunity for the insurance community as whole on looking at technology as one of their, so as I'll quote Dr. Billy Williams, he says this, you should consider technology as your employee. Totally. And I love that analogy because, it makes me think in a whole different way, rather than I was thinking of technology as a cost. It makes me think now, okay, because every employee I look at InsuredMine, I look at them as the value they are creating. And that's how I now look at technology, how the technology is creating the value for the organization. And this is the real opportunity for agencies, is to look at these technology and how the value is being created for the agency, and bringing them together. There is no better time than COVID.
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure the question did come through. I can touch on around cell phones and they're using it. So a couple ways you can use your cell phone. When we talk about a soft phone, you can actually download a soft phone onto your cell phone, where you could use the system via your cell phone, but you're not using your own dial pad, if that makes sense. And the main reason you would want to do that is because that pushes the calls through our network. If you call just from your cell phone itself, it would go on to your Verizon data or your T-Mobile data. We wouldn't know of that call. If you use the soft phone application, it'll come through LightSpeed Voice. You can still do everything you want on your cell phone, and the call pops would still work, and the call recording and the call note would still work. So that's a crucial thing there. And then there's also what we call Find Me, Follow Me, where it's basically a fancy call forwarding. So the call would come into LightSpeed Voice. It would then ring your cell phone, but again, it would stay within the LightSpeed Voice network, which is the critical aspect for the integration pieces. So 100% you can use your cell phone via the soft phone, which is becoming more and more popular these days. And I think really from an agency owner manager scenario where you're out and about more, it's probably the way to go in most cases. So yeah, we can accommodate that in numerous aspects. And just before I forget, I will touch on, Raution touched on the pricing aspect. I'll just kind of cover it from ours. We do have different options, anywhere from month to month to a 3-year contract. Similar to a cell phone, right? You get into a longer contract, we'll give you some free, we'll include some phones and give you better pricing, et cetera. But it could range from, $35 to $55 a month per user. But that's all included. It's one of the nice things with us. You're not paying extra taxes and fees and video recording charges, et cetera. So we'll run into a lot of cases with our competitors where they're $22.99 a month, right? Then you get your bill and it's $60. So, we're a flat deal. So let's say you come in at our $40 price point, which is one of our more popular ones, and you got 5 people, it's going to be $200.00 every month, regardless of the number of calls, the number of recordings, or anything along those lines. So it is a nice kind of budget tool where you kind of know what you're getting into.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I do see another question coming from Jordan. We have made many changes in terms of overall tech, not phone carrier changes. So obviously it may be a time for you to consider that, Jordan.
Yeah. Totally. And also, I think it's a change in mindset, right? And that's really what's behind the more than just talk slogan that we used. If if you're thinking about phones just as dial tone, that's it's just not really the case anymore. You have to look at it as an opportunity. If you kind of think about what we're going to see when Mohammed shows us, the ability to pull up a customer record and see every time they've called you, know exactly how long ago that was, listen to a recording if you need to, and kind of move on. It really changes the game. And then you can listen, whisper, and barge in on calls for your staff as well. So from a coaching perspective, you can do live coaching in real time. And then obviously all the performance metrics that we showed you are just a totally game-changing thing if you're not doing it yet.
Sure.
And then the question as far as desk IP phone, so we can provision most phones. We would let you know beforehand as we onboard you if they're going to work or not. We're not going to say, yes, we can do it, and then find out later we can't. We'll check out the model and typically be able to do it. There's just a really nominal fee to do that. But we do not do any initial setup costs. So it's a pretty easy transition. We port your numbers in as part of the onboarding process, et cetera. So we've got it down to a science as far as getting people on board, because everybody has phones for the most part, unless you're starting out scratch. So that porting process, we've got over 3,500 agencies or companies across the country that use us. So you do it enough times, you become pros at it. And it's obviously a critical time for both of us when you're transitioning over. So we want to make that as painless as possible.
Sure. Steve, I think there is one more question. Jordan had a question. I think it scrolled up. He said, Stephen, is it simple? It's a simple click to switch type of process when transitioning to a new carrier such as LightSpeed. We have made so many changes that I just wanted to see what type of process it could be. So
gotcha.
You answered a part of it, but yeah.
Yeah. So from the porting standpoint, the nice thing with us is we have three folks in our office that's literally their only job is to work with companies to transition over. So it is a couple-week process. Not that you're going to be involved for a couple weeks, but there is a porting process where we have to request the phone numbers from the other carrier. If you're purchasing phones from us, we'll ship you the phones, pre-configured, and you're kind of good to go. The other nice thing too with the phones or the soft phone is you can use them anywhere. So if you're like for myself right now, I'm in the office a couple days a week and I'm home a couple days a week. I just take my phone with me, and wherever I plug it in, it works, right? You can be in an airport, you can be anywhere, and you plug that phone in, and it's going to be your extension number wherever you're at.
Awesome.
And
there's one more question. Go ahead.
Direct dial. We do provide direct dial numbers, and that's actually a great point to bring up. A lot of the bigger carriers or lower cost carriers, you're just extension based. So every time somebody calls in, you have to dial an extension number, and it's just a put off for prospects. Whereas with us, you'll get each salesperson or service person will have their direct number if you want to use it or not. But for a sales guy person, I 100% say you should have a direct dial number. You want to, you don't want somebody going into an IVR every time they have to call to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen, for answering all those questions, and thank you all for asking those questions. Now let's go into what is most awaited. As we said, we have Mohamad on call with us. Mohamad is based out of Austin. Is that true, right, Mohamad?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah. And so, without further ado, I would let you share your screen. I will stop screen share. Hopefully you are able to share your screen.
Yes, I could do that.
There you go. So at least that is awesome.
There you go. So, one of the questions people always ask is, why do I need this? What makes this important, or why does it matter, right? So if you follow Billy Williams, and if you have a process, if you have a script, your CSRs, your agent, either be upselling or cross-selling or whatever the case may be, and you have to kind of listen in on what's going on. Now, obviously, you can do that with any, a lot of these web providers do have the recording, and but to have it all encompassing in one, system that I could just kind of click on it and hear it right away, it makes things a lot simpler, right? And that's what technology is supposed to do. It makes things simpler. And And this does that. And, and if you're not into micromanaging your employees or don't have scripts, that's fine. But you still need it for customer service perspective, right? There's an issue going on and you want to hear what the conversation was, or E&O perspective, if you have the E&O call, if there's something happened, hey, he said, she said type of things. And that clears a lot of this stuff up when we have a actual recording going in and out, both ways. And to have it integrated with LightSpeed had made our life much easier, just because the fact that, I don't need to go and log into a different system, look for that phone number or anything else like that. It's just built into my LightSpeed. I could just look at, just like I was looking at notes, and click on the link and hear the conversation right there, and that does add a lot of value. So let me show you a demo real quick, right? So this is our sales pipeline. Let me have somebody call me real quick. Give me 2 seconds. So obviously I'm going to have Ruth. I'm using her as a test dummy right now. So I told her to text me. But the other option is, while we wait for a call, if you're in this pipeline, obviously you can move card around back and forth. You could customize all this if you like. And here she comes. Okay.
Needless to say, Mohamad is one of our super users.
So this is something you'll get, right, if you had somebody call in right now. So you'll click on that profile and that conversation will show up in your 360. So let me hang up that call with her and let me refresh it. And if you go into events, there's the call right here. So, and it keeps track of, how long the call was for, incoming, outgoing, and all you need to do is just click on the link, sign in, and you could hear the call right there. So versus going into a system and searching for it or anything like that. So, and if you are calling that person out, that's also simple. If you're using in the sales, let me say initiated call. So now, it's calling out. I just pick up my phone. If you have a soft phone, it's up your cell phone, and it's gonna ring her up. And so, thank you. I was just doing a test call. Okay, so now that call is also shows up in my history of events as another outgoing call. So it's been pretty quick. Anybody can listen to it right away, and the same thing. Click on the link, and boom, you're there. So that does add a lot of value to it. So hopefully that helps. I could see a lot of improvements coming up in the future. I guess Raution and Steve can go more into that, how this can be useful in your, are there be ROI, see how many calls come in, for one customer and versus how much premium that customer really, has, and service requirement for that one customer. I was having a conversation with one of my staff members and I say, hey, you know what? The cool thing is, now you can look at that customer's prior history and say, hey, you know what? Is it really worth keeping that customer based on all these conversations I've had every time he sends a service request, or, whatever the case may be, versus for, say, a $50 premium? Is it worth it or not? So it gives you a direction where you want to go with your client, with your agency. Do I really want to re-quote this guy every renewal, because the service calls I've had. So.
Sure. So, Mohamad, I want to bring up a good point that we were talking the other day, and you mentioned, which was just because it is available so quick, so easily, right in front of you, the value of that availability goes, multiple fold, rather than you have to create reason and then go into a system to say, okay, now I need to check that call log rather than having it here. So do you want to expand on thinking, where were you going with that thought?
Yeah, so it does make a lot of difference, right? I mean, I've been a Lightspeed user for a while, and only time I really have logged in to Lightspeed to check recordings is if I have a new staff and I just want to just kind of see what's going on, you know. But or if there's an issue that came up, you know, and I need to hear the conversation, what happened. But other than that, you know, I really don't really get into the whole Lightspeed voice and recordings. And that's not because it's not important, because you know it's more of a, hey, if it's an important need, then I go there. Having it here gives me more. I'm more likely to go in and check it more often, you know, and be more on top of it than than right now. So it does add a lot of value by having it in the tip of your fingertips, you know. So
So thanks to hear that. I do see a question coming from Jordan, and that is for Steve. How long does Lightspeed save the phone conversation?
Yeah, so the way our standard way of doing that is we provide a certain amount of storage per extension, which, you know, for standard experience is just a little over 3 years. And there's a couple of ways you can go about doing that. If you want it longer than the 3 years, then you could purchase additional storage. We have very few, I think less than 5 people out of our whole agency base that do that, because the 3 years typically covers it. And if there's an important call that you want to keep, you could always just download that particular call. So there's that option. But yeah, it's if you're in a lower volume situation, it could be as many as 5 or 6 years, right? But we're just, you know, the standard is around 3.
So there's an interesting part. I think it came up with one of the other customers that we were talking on the same premise. So their question was, do InsuredMine keep a recording of these? The answer is no. What we are hosting here is the link to the voice recording that is saved typically on that Lightspeed Voice server. So what you see here is a link to the recording. It's not the recording itself. So
yeah, it actually is for our users. We love it when they use an integrated solution, because it's much easier to find in this, you know, in the CRM versus the actual phone system, which is, you know, you have to do some different searching. This way, it's right in there. You know exactly where it's at.
Yeah. And obviously, what you see is version 1. You know, we have just rolled out an integration, and like InsuredMine a year ago was, you know, a whole different thing than what it is today. You know, we have walked 100 miles an hour and we have come a very, very long way. But that also tells us that we have a long way to go. And we will continue doing this. And our goal, as I say it very often, I think ourselves as innovation as a service. You know, every agency is not that deep pocket like Geico's and Progressive to have their billion-dollar technology center. But what they can do is lease innovation from technologies like us, where we are innovating for you all every day. And so this is just one proof of concept that has come really well and is proving its worth. Obviously, now the intent is to build upon it. There is, as Steve was talking about, some of those things in the pipeline, whether it's about a dialer, whether it's about be able to do several other things, DocuSign and stuff like that. So how are we enhancing that value? It does come a lot because we will be building it, but it also comes a lot from you all by telling us what you need and what is working and what is not working. So this is always that open conversation, and I am certainly very fortunate that most of our clients are that way, that, you know, they call us, they text us, Raution, this is working or this is not working. So keep this conversation open, and, you know, anything else that you guys want to see or hear, let us know. I think there is one more question that came in there. Yeah.
So, I think there's a question around rating in the chat, Raution. There's a question as far as the rating conversations. Do you see that one?
Yes. So is it possible for the CSR to rate conversations in InsuredMine? Example, client satisfied, client unsatisfied. That's a very interesting question, Rodrigo. I was in fact thinking about that when when Mohammed was demoing this. I was saying, hey, what if every conversation we can just log in, happy or unhappy? And I certainly see that that is a possibility, and we will put it in our pipeline. And when we say we're going to put it in our pipeline, you might be surprised next weekend it will roll out. So yeah, certainly I see that as a possibility.
And Raution, the other thing would be is to maybe get a tally of how many calls, how much time you have spent on calls with this particular customer, so adding up all these 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 22 seconds, to just give it some type of an idea as a, hey, for this deal card, for this particular, to close this deal, you spend 3 hours on a call, and I could compare that data, with another card for a similar agent and say, okay, you know what, it took John here, 1 hour to close this deal versus to Bob here, 3 days and, 5 hours in calls. So just to kind of give you an idea who's selling, who's faster at sales, maybe they're asking the right questions, so.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We've thought about it on the macro level as far as the agency, but I hadn't really thought about it on that customer level. It's actually a great thought.
Mm-hmm. And fortunately, we are doing so much of analytics at a deal level rather than a customer or an agency level. We can go that deep dive into at per deal, per agent, or per agency, or per agent, or per location kind of. So analytics certainly is, I would say, is the second iteration of this integration. The first core was to make sure you are able to make a call using LightSpeed integration. You are able to receive a call using LightSpeed integration, and then you are able to save that call using LightSpeed integration was the core first three things we wanted to accomplish. And you have very successfully shown that on this webinar today. And obviously, as there is a pretty extensive pipeline for both of us, both companies, and some of the common things is about how am I making data easily available to you all, so you can make all those data-driven decisions based on, as you said, Mohammed, is how many hours did I spend on this guy. I'll give you one quick example. I was talking about, so another agency, they track that kind of data from how many hours a CSR is spending on a call. And then they are also analyzing that. So now this is extrapolation and bringing two data sets together. Which is, now they're looking at the time spent on the call or the average time spent on the call to their CSAT, customer satisfaction score, which we also push through our Google review automation. And then comparing and saying that, hey, is that increase or the more time spent on the call have a higher correlation to a higher customer satisfaction, or it's not related, or vice versa, because that gives them a perspective of, hey, why are you spending all this time when you're not even able to help the customer, or what is it? So it raises more questions and takes the agency and the CSRs in the right direction, because now you have data to say how you want to operate. So, all right. Any other question, anyone on the call? We are getting to the top of the hour. We can take probably a couple more calls before messages before we wrap up. So any other question? So Mohammed, while we are waiting on any question, I see one question from thank you, Jordan. Good to hear. You guys like it. I know you are a very core user of InsuredMine, and I am sure with this integration, this will give you an opportunity to dig into LightSpeed as well. Obviously, the intent is for us to build an ecosystem with like-minded technologies, which is moving at that pace and innovating on a daily basis. So certainly, we see that coming along with LightSpeed.
Yeah, it was actually a great question. The thought popped to me earlier, and I'd forgotten to go back to it. So appreciate that. And it's around texting. So there's kind of two phases going back to that word here on the texting side. So we can set it up typically where you can use your primary office number as your texting number with LightSpeed. There's a little bit of a different process involved in that, but we work you through that, and we actually did that with Mohamad. The other part of that is true integration, right? And that's something that we have to complete as far as that text being represented in InsuredMine, and how that works depending on where you send it, et cetera. So there's a little more, not more complex than the phone calls for sure, but there is some complexity there that we have to work through on the texting side. But yeah, we can get your number to work, so you don't have to have a couple separate texting numbers. But as far as a true integration, that's a TBD.
Yep, absolutely. And just to add to that, there is what I would call a shortcut at the moment is, if you're using InsuredMine, is, we do provide you sometimes your own number, or sometimes, a new number. So at least you are able to continue with texting, because we do believe it is one of the most powerful tool that agencies should not live without. So you got to have that tool in your armor, and should be very heavily user of text messaging, whether it's for campaigns sometimes, or it's about a daily communications, so those things should be, and it comes through InsuredMine. And obviously the goal is, with LightSpeed, it will go a couple miles deep in terms of how that integration will come along. All right.
Great stuff. I definitely appreciate all the questions. It makes these things so much more helpful for everybody. So appreciation for sure.
Absolutely. And so before we wrap up, again, a big shout out to Mohamad for, agreeing to demo, and being such a positive voice for not only InsuredMine or LightSpeed. Mohamad has been involved in this InsurTech, I would say, in the space pretty heavily, and we do see a lot of things that you talk about, or in all these events that you're involved. So thank you for being the voice, because sometimes we see a lot happening on the side and people know or not know, but having agents who are proponent of all these technology and bringing it in front of others, I think you guys play a phenomenal role from that perspective. So thank you for being involved in this and in the larger scale.
Totally.
Any closing comments, Steve and Mohamad, before we bring this to an end, as we are hitting on the top of our hour?
No,
nothing for me.
I could add to the SMS part. I mean, I did get my actual numbers to integrate with InsuredMine with the help of LightSpeed, so it worked out great, and I love it.
Awesome.
So.
And I got to bust Mohammed's chops. So like I said, I joined LightSpeed mid last year, and one of the first events I attended, nice gentleman came up, and I had the pleasure of listening for quite some time about our solutions. So it's extremely valuable, and I learned a lot from him actually. And I went back to the office and said, get on the phone with this guy and figure it out. And he's been a great partner for us, and critic as well, which I love, and I'm sure Raution loves it. So it's the only way we get better. So we definitely appreciate it, Mohamad. Thank you so much, man.
No, thank you.
While we are rolling all the praises for Mohamad, I will add one more, which I think is very critical, and it is good for the other audience to hear this, is the patience. We all understand, the technology is never perfect. The frustration you guys get, we get 10 times more frustration than that, because it is not working, because our goal is to make it work for you. And every day we are trying our best to, nobody loves to fail, and nobody wants to fail. So obviously, when we are trying all these things, there are a few things which gets here and there and drops off. And a lot of you have a lot of patience to work with us to say, okay, yeah, get this done, or fix this. And so that has been an amazing experience with Mohamad. We work with him on so many different pieces of integration, and this poor guy, has this mellow voice, and with his calmness and all politeness, he would say, yeah, it is working, but the good thing is, all this time, even with his patience, we have been able to solve and come to this point where we can look back and say, hey, all those things are done. So thank you, Mohamad, for being that patient and understanding that it's not easy to be where we are.
Oh, thank you for listening. You said one listens.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thank you everyone for your time. We will have this webinar on record, and I hope there is something for all of you to learn from, which was from this understanding what InsuredMine does, understanding what LightSpeed Voice does, and seeing how those two things come together, and the roadmap of what these two companies are looking from the partnership to grow and build upon. Hope those are good takeaways for you. Anything else, feel free to reach out to Steve or I, also Mohammed, and we will be more than happy to answer any question you have. So thank you for your time.